it's Drybear. We're continuing our series of covering every weapon in the First Descendant, and after a long, begrudging sequence of trying to tackle tactical rifles, we finally got it, and I'm happy to say that not only is there a good, viable build for the base general tactical rifles, but there's also an emergent elemental build that you can't do with any other weapon type in the game. Now, as always, I'll have my one sheet and build sheets down below in the comments and in the description, plus other weapons that I've covered here. The standout for the tactical rifles is going to be the Unwelcomed, the new Red King, and it's at 706 simulated DPS, which puts it kind of in league with Assassin's Edge for revolvers, the Eternal Willpower for assault rifles, the Tamer for the machine guns, so on and so forth, the Silly Weeper for the scout rifles. It is definitely a great weapon, and if you're tired of using general rounds, you can actually use the Unwelcomed to great effect. I would put it in the top tier of all the non-ultimate weapons in the entire game, even just all weapons in the game. It's a great weapon that you can rely on. But this is going to be the first build that we're going to talk about, and this is your typical damage output build. This is one that's kind of like the basis of what the First Descendant is right now until we get some reworks on the module categories and how some of the stats are weighted. It kind of puts more effort on some stats than others, and that forces us into kind of pigeonholing some of the builds, but that could change over time, hopefully. So this is the general tactical rifle build. The big thing about the tac rifles is that they are either 3-shot or 5-shot bursts, which makes them pretty different, and they also use special ammo. I know a lot of people don't run special ammo in their builds, but having one that is as good as the Unwelcomed or even Young Noble's Ambition means that you certainly can, and if you beef out these weapons, they will perform for you in some really awesome ways. But we're going to run with action and reaction as well as rifling, reinforcement, and real life fighter. I wish I could get away from these mods, but they just keep coming back because they're just so overtuned. Then we have fire rate up, better concentration, better insight, and fatal critical. A big thing about the tactical rifles is they have anywhere from 30 to 40% critical strike chance, and they have really high, like 1.5 to 1.85 critical strike damage scaling at base. And since the crit multipliers are multiplicative, the higher the base is, the more value you get from some of these. It doesn't mean that it's the end all be all, like you don't always want to go crit if you have high base crit, but in this case, that is definitely the case. Crit chance and crit damage scale quite well with these weapons. And then we'll finish off with weak point, have aiming, weak point sight, and of course, elemental enhancement. That is the 4 elemental mods that apply additional elemental damage based on your firearm attack. The reason elemental damage in general is not picked up, but the enhancement ones are, is because these specifically scale off of your firearm attack, which makes them much better than most of the elemental effects in the game because they scale off your core number, your biggest, most valuable number on that, and it scales off a true general, like global scaler, which makes these even better. Unfortunately for the tactical rifles, that since they are not fully auto, they can't take advantage of sharp precision shot. No matter what you do, any rifle that's semi-automatic is not going to work for sharp precision. So if it's semi-automatic, I'm holding down the fire right now. It's not going to keep shooting. It's semi-automatic. It shoots once. And if you can't continuously fire by holding the button down, sharp precision will do nothing. Now, there is a patch tomorrow that might change that for some of these, giving you either a full auto or an option for burst fire. But when that happens, maybe this kind of swaps that up. But right now, this is not a useful mod. If it did have a weighting, it would be in the 90s, like 91, 92%. So you could run it if they end up swapping that out for you. So if we do see like a full fire auto for some of these, even like revolvers or with these tactical rifles, if they get a full auto option, they will be able to use the sharp precision shot, and in that case, the weighting for that would be about 92% in both cases, so it would be a viable replacement for real life fighter if you wanted to use those instead, so pretty decent overall. The weighting is going to be on the left side here, so if you ever use this list, I basically weight all of the modules and what contribution they'll make to your DPS weighted across a benchmark of the top module on the screen. So the top module is set at 100%, and then what percentage of that module do you get for the ones that go down, and then you can go down the list and add ones or pull ones in and out as you decide to make the weapon better. This is going to be optimal DPS, but of course, if you want to make it more comfortable by adding move speed, accuracy, recoil, any of those feel good kind of stats that make the game feel better for you, then you can go to the left side of the screen, take the lowest value mods, replace those with those feel good mods, and then you'll have a build ready to go. For the stat priority, we want to do firearm attack, elemental damage from fire attack. Currently, the only source of this is elemental chill enhancement in the entire game. Then we want fire rate, crit damage, crit chance, weak point, and lastly, reload and rounds for these. And then for your reroll priority, you want to do bonus versus attack. Usually you do bonus versus Colossi for this because it's going to be the most useful. Firearm attack, flat elemental damage, then crit damage, crit chance, weak point, and rounds. Again, these weapons do quite well with crit chance and crit damage. Not every weapon in the game does, but these definitely do. So that's going to be the first build for tactical rifles if you want to use them as general tactical rifles and you like aiming for weak points and use them kind of like every other weapon in the game. However, there are some unique ultimate special mods for the special rounds that no other guns don't have. And I tested all of them. Most of the unique ones are unfortunately quite terrible just because they're so limited in their presentation and function. So when you have things like giving you extra ammo or reloads or things like that, all of those don't work quite well. But there is one module that when we finished all of the calculations ended up being quite good, and that is Frigid Burn. This is a special rounds only module ultimate, and what it does is when you strike an enemy 3 times in a row, so if you use any of the rifles here, so these rifles, all of the rifles I believe are 3 shots except for the Viper, which is 5-shot bursts, so 3 shots or 5-shot burst. If you use any of those, a single burst fire round will get you this, but what it does is it triggers an additional bonus of chill attack damage as bonus damage to the target. So the more chill attack you have, the more damage you get out of Frigid Burn. I ran all the numbers, and it turns out, thankfully, that you actually have a viable build. It ends up being slightly worse than this general tactical rifle build, but if you decide to go with this one, you get a lot of really cool value out of it because it means you don't really need to aim for weak point. Weak point doesn't affect elemental bonuses. It doesn't really have to rely on that. The procs of chill will crit. They have crit chance and crit damage scaling, though the trigger from Frigid Burn does not. It won't crit and it won't be affected by weak point either, but that's okay because we're able to trigger it quite a lot. So this is a different build, the Frigid Burn build for tactical rifles, and I'm so glad that we have something new and different and fresh in the game that's not just real life fighter and shooting for the head over and over. So again, against targets that are weak to chill, this build will be like only slightly worse. Like you can see, like it's like 6,000 DPS difference on targets that are weak to chill. If you're against a target that's not weak to chill, it will be worse than this other build, the general tactical rifle build, by about 11% or so. So it will be noticeable against targets that aren't weak to chill. But if they are weak to chill, it's almost the exact same, which means it gives you this different way to play. So if you wanted to have a different kind of weapon on your back and you can just aim for the center of mass, get triple shots, and when you get 3 shots in a row, it'll trigger a bonus damage from chill attack. Super cool, super different. And one thing to keep in mind as well, we tested this a bunch on top of that, is if you do run the higher burst round weapons, so for example, the Viper is not a 3-round burst, but it is a 5-round burst. So if you see how it's not just 3, if you shoot continuously on targets, you'll be able to get, it'll hit 5, and then the 6th shot will still trigger the Frigid Burn as long as you shoot fast enough. There's a small grace period where it tracks those hits. So you can shoot 5 and then 6 is your second trigger. Then you shoot 3 more, that'll be your next trigger. So you can get 1 trigger per burst on the 5 shot, then 2 triggers, then 1 trigger, then 2 triggers. And then of course on the triple shot tac rifles like the Unwelcomed, you'll be able to just use this normally for the burst out of that. But the elemental damage is great and it scales really well with firearm attack on top of that, which is cool. And I just like having a different build that functions well. So for this one, we're going to prioritize a lot of chill attacks. You can notice that the weighting in the top right is chill attack is your best stat for reroll. We also want to run specifically chill enhancement and chill priority and frigid burn. I ran the numbers with chill priority and refrigerate gun barrel, and I also ran the numbers for refrigerate gun barrel by itself and chill priority by itself. And unfortunately, chill priority by itself with chill enhancement beats out having gun barrel at all. In fact, gun barrel makes this build worse just because it's going to ruin your fire rate, which ends up being a DPS loss overall. So you want chill enhancement, chill priority, frigid burn. Chill priority and gun barrel share a category anyways, so even if you could run them, it wouldn't matter. Chill priority is just going to be your better bet overall. Then we want fire rate up, so we can constantly be triggering frigid burn. Then we want better concentration, fatal critical, and better insight, because even though frigid burn can't crit, our normal chill attacks can, so we'll get more value out of that. And then expand weapon charge, because we want to be getting more value out of frigid burn. But again, Against targets that are weak to chill, any fire target, this is going to be basically the same as your real-life fighter build without having to fiend after weak point hits, which I think is going to be a lot more comfortable and super cool. And again, it's just nice. It's nice to have something different, you know? It's nice to have some build variety that isn't so heavily weighted on the way the stats are built in the game and gives us a little bit more option as well. And if you're curious, there is only chill version of this. There is no like fire, electric, or toxic. There's literally only for special rounds, Frigid Burn is your only option for this element. So you can just run Frigid Burn as chill. Maybe in the future they'll add the other 3 elements, but this is only specifically for chill. Cerulean, I guess in this case you could run some Catalyst in the slot if you wanted to keep it that way, but it's a cool different build that you can try. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.